What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video? Hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Today we're going over BBCan11 episode number 8. We have a lot to kind of go over because not only do we have the episode where we had the veto ceremony and the eviction, but they also released on the Big Brother Canada website unedited diary room sessions. It was about 3 videos where each of the house guests came in and they kind of answered some questions about who they think is working together, who they trust the most, who they trust the least. And it really kind of gave us probably the best picture that we have of the house that we've had this entire season, especially since we don't have live feeds. So I have put together a brand new alliance chart for this week. And again, I think this is the best picture that we have of the house so far. So make sure you stick around for the end of that video to see that. But let's jump into the episode. Again, we started with the veto because we didn't see the ceremony take place on the last episode. And we start off with Zach telling Dan, hey, I think you and Ty should fill in Rob before the veto ceremony. That way he doesn't like blow up or anything. I shouldn't be there though, because I already got enough heat on me, but like you guys do it for me, please. Okay, thank you. So they do. They end up meeting with Rob in the pantry just before the ceremony, and they're like, listen, Hope's coming down, you're going up. We just wanted to let you know beforehand. And he flat out says, you're doing Zach's dirty work right now. Like, this is what you're doing. This is his move. I don't know why you guys are listening to him, but it is what it is. Hope does come down, Rob goes up, the backdoor plan is in motion. We end up getting Rob and Santina having a talk where both of them were kind of surprised by Dan. They thought maybe he would have a lot more willpower than this to really kind of not just go along with what Zach wanted. Kind of funny coming from Santina, since that's what she felt like happened to her. But they said they're going to have to figure out how to get people to see what's going on and what's happening, and that Zach is really kind of running everything right now. We saw Claudia, Renee, and Nene kind of celebrating in the bathroom that Rob went up. So this is good for Renee, for her chances to stay. And they can also just get rid of a number of the guys and break up that alliance. We saw John just completely done with Zach and Ty. He is over it. He's seen them take the shot at who he calls his brother in the game, Rob. And he is just done with the two of them. And he's like, listen, if that means I'm going to be going out next week, I'm going to fight tooth and nail for what I think is right. He ends up having a conversation with Hope, trying to get him on board for them to sticking together through all this. We ended up getting John, Santina, and Rob having a chat as well, talking about Zach and trying to get the numbers. And it's an uphill battle for them to try and get this done. Vanessa ends up having a chat with Rob, and she says that she thinks they have the numbers, but Hope is key. And then we head to Rob kind of doing some rounds with different people where we get to see him with Hope, and he really just tries to get Hope on board, even though he says he knows that Hope is close to Renee, that he really would need his vote, and he hopes that he can have it. We get Rob and Daniel, and his pitch was basically like, look, I was blindsided. And Daniel even admits, he's like, look, if you can be blindsided by him, anybody can. So it was really, again, just all about how Zach's running things, and they need to take a stand at some point, and Rob is going to be going after him, not anybody else. We got Daniel and Kuzi having the conversation, because they're trying to figure out where they stand in this whole thing, right? They're not sure exactly what they should do, what the best move is for their game. Daniel kind of says he doesn't see how it makes sense to keep someone as good of a competitor as Rob in the game, but they're not seeing the bigger picture of, if you keep Rob in the game, he's going against Zach. Zach will always be going against him. That is a war that will be happening where you can just lay low, let them fight. It really makes a lot more sense to me than it seems like it's making to them. Zach and Vanessa end up having a chat where they just kind of try and smooth over the whole fight that happened on the last episode. They both kind of talk about how they're very similar, and they're very again, just similar type of people who are going to be butting heads, because those are always the type of people you end up butting heads with, the people you're most similarly to. And how they're both emotional in their own ways, Zach kind of admits, he's like, listen, I thought you had gotten personal, but when I really kind of thought about it too, I was getting personal as well. So he just kind of wanted to say, like, I never want to make anybody feel smaller or less than in this game. And it was a really good job from Zach to smooth things over. I don't think you're ever going to repair that relationship with Vanessa. She's always going to not trust you. But it was a good attempt from Zach. Then we head on over to the Wendy's points. So we've known about these Wendy's points since week 1, and there was some question marks on the show. They haven't really addressed how they're earned and what points are gained from and what you have to do to get them. The only place that I had seen it was ever explained was actually on the BBCan website. And here they finally explain it to not only the viewing audience, but the house guests as well. You win them for winning HOH and Veto, surviving a week in the game. There's a bunch of different ways you can get them. You can also get them when someone is evicted. They will give you their points that they had earned from Wendy's as well. We still have no clue what these will be used for at all. But this leads to a big scavenger hunt for points around the house. It was kind of like Find and Go Veto, whenever they do that in the US and the house just ends up being a mess. People are running around everywhere, pillows and cushions. They're looking in drawers in the kitchen, in the hot tub, all over the place to find these points. And then we do get a bit of a standings here. So this was the final standings. After that, we had Dan S in the lead. Then we had Daniel just behind him, just actually about 25 points. So Daniel did a lot to get points there. Hope, Roberto, Santina all got a lot of points. Kuzi has a lot of points because JM actually gave his points to her when he was evicted from the house. Ty, Zach, Renee, poor Vanessa, all the way in dead last. way down there, doesn't even have 1,000 points yet. But yeah, these are the standings. Again, once again, we don't know what these will be used for. We have no clue. Something that will change the game, who knows? Maybe it'll be like whoever has the most points can get a Wendy's Veto from a Frosty. We don't know. Anyway, that was it was kind of fun still. We got Renee, who started to work on her votes to try and make sure she can stay. She pushes to Daniel that this is going to break up the guys more. And the girls can kind of team up, including him, because they kind of include him in the girls. John ends up having a great pitch to Kuzi and Nika. We actually saw this on the dailies, but only kind of the end of it. And when he left the room, it was almost locked in that Kuzi and Anika were going to keep Rob. They were like, I'm sold. Like, I'm in. And we don't actually know exactly what happened really between those 2 points, except for one other conversation we'll get in a bit. But they were full on locked in. But as Jonathan leaves the room, he heads on down the stairs, and Zach from the balcony, like, kind of has a bit of a shouting match with Jonathan. Jonathan was very cool about it. He's like, I understand, man. No problem. Like, I get it. Like, he wasn't like engaging with him, but Zach was kind of berating him and saying, like, listen, if people are going around and they're pitching and they're throwing my name out there, I have to defend myself. You understand that, right? And I was like, yeah, cool, man. No problem. And they shook hands and kind of that was it. But it still was tense. It was definitely a tense situation there. Ty and Anika have a conversation where Anika says, like, can we trust Zach? Like, is he actually trustworthy? Where Ty kind of flips it around and he's like, listen, at the end of the day, we have to just get Rob out. He is just not good for anyone's game if he stays. We ended up getting Zach and Santina having a really awkward conversation in the kitchen where she was just like, listen, I'm not pushing you in any pitch that I'm giving, right? I'm just going around telling people, like, if Rob has one vote on eviction night, it was probably me. I probably voted for him to stay. Zach was just kind of getting upset by the whole conversation. Not really upset, but annoyed. You can kind of tell. And he was like, Santina was like, are you good? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. It was awkward. But then we get Anika, Dan, and Kuzi. And this was a conversation we got on the dailies, the last ones that we had, where it started to seem like, okay, maybe Rob doesn't have the votes. Because basically at this point, they, for some reason, think that Santina is closer to Zach than he is, and that if Zach was in power, he would put them up before he would put Santina up. And they kind of say like, hey, we hold all the power this week. And yeah, they do. But if they vote the wrong way, I feel like they're throwing away that power and they're just kind of doing exactly what Zach wanted in the first place. But they see this as this like, no, we're playing him, but yet they trust him. It's a weird dynamic in that house. I'm telling you, like Zach might be the best player that we've seen in a really long time because somehow everyone sees what he's doing. They keep saying like, oh, he's a threat and we shouldn't trust him. But then they keep trusting him. It really does remind me of a Dan, a Derek, a Will, these guys that everybody would go, oh, we have to get them out. But then they never get them out. It's such a weird thing. That takes us to the vote, though, where Rob ended up giving his speech, which I thought would be better. It seemed like he was really going to attack Zach in this thing, but he really doesn't even name him. He just says there's a looming figure over the HOHs, and it was not a good speech. But we did end up getting Rob evicted by a 7-4 vote. Jonathan, Santina, Vanessa, and Hope were the 4. I was actually kind of surprised that Hope ended up voting for Rob to stay. But I guess that was kind of just to throw confusion and everywhere, because we'll talk about where Hope stands once we get to the DR sessions I was talking about. Other than that, that was the end of the episode. We saw the interview with Rob and as he left, but we didn't get an HOH. There was no news on that. We did find out the Bel Air direct vote for the eviction insurance, whatever it's called. I don't know. It's a vote to save. It's a vote to save people. That's coming back this week. It wasn't last week a thing, but it is coming back for this week. And I'm going to tell you right now, Jonathan's going to win it. It's already a lock. Jonathan will win the protection. He will be safe this week for 2 reasons. One, the East Coast of Canada, they vote strong. They already voted for Claudia to win it the first time. Jonathan will more than certainly be one of the top vote getters this week. Plus, in the last 2 episodes, Jonathan has gotten a great edit, has come off as someone who's just so loyal and likable and had a lot of really good emotion that he was showing in the episode. So I'm telling you right now, Jonathan will be safe this week and won't be going anywhere, which is maybe bad news for Santina. Santina could end up in some trouble depending on who wins HOH. But that's pretty much it for the episode. It did end up being Rob who was evicted from the house. It's going to be interesting to see who ends up as HOH. But I want to jump into these DR sessions because, again, I really feel like this gave us the best picture of the house and where people stand since the beginning, right? These dailies are not giving us too much. Sometimes we get a lot of conflicting information from the dailies and from the episode. So this really, I feel like, gave us a clearer picture on where people stand. And again, they kind of went one by one, and each house guest would come in and out. It almost felt like they were just all sitting in the living room and they were calling them in one by one. They all knew when to come in, kind of like what they would do for eviction night when they're voting. And they went pretty much just in alphabetical order. First up was Claudia. Actually, I guess it wasn't in alphabetical order because we would have started with like Anika, but she wasn't until later. So we start off with Claudia, and they ask, who. The question was, who do you think are working together? And instead, she says, who am I working with? Well, I guess I'm working with Shania, Nene, and Renee, and also Ty, and those are who she trusts as well. As for who she didn't trust Anika, and she didn't trust Santina. So those were the 2 that are like kind of number 1 on her list as people not to trust. Next up, we got Dan, who thinks that Zach and Ty are working together, that he's working with Zach as well. He says Daniel, Anika, and Kuzi are working together, which they are. He kind of nailed that one. Nene, Renee, and Claudia, he nails that as well. And then John, Rob, and Santina, he nails that too. As far as who he trusts, he was like, this is a tough question, because if you asked me a couple days ago, he would have said Zach, but he also still says Zach because he's already bought in enough with him being his number one. So he's losing trust with him, but he also trusts him, and he's too deep not to trust him anymore. So that was kind of interesting. And then it gets to the least trustworthy. He says Zach. How do you say the same person for who you trust the most and who you trust the least, Dan? It doesn't make it sense. Make it make sense. He also says Santina, though. So that was wild. Daniel comes up next. He says there's the boys gang, there's the girls gang, then there's the middle. Here's the real thing, though. There's the middle, which has him and his gang, and then a girls gang, and then there's kind of a boys gang, but Jonathan and Santina aren't in it. They're over on this side. It's a whole thing. Then he says Ty, Hope, and Kuzi kind of have a thing going on, but they don't really have a thing going on necessarily that I'm aware of. But he says his little birds tell him that. So I guess he's getting that from Kuzi, who he does talk a lot with. But I don't think Ty and Hope really take that too seriously. Vanessa, Santina, and Rob, he says, are all working together. Daniel, Anika, Kuzi, and Zach. So himself and Anika, Kuzi, and Zach. So he trusts Zach, but he doesn't trust Zach. It's a whole thing. Renee, Nene, and Claudia. So one of the things we're noticing right off the bat when each people are coming in, they're clocking Nene, Renee, and Claudia as that threesome. They have that three nailed. Everybody kind of knows that Ty and Zach are working together, except Daniel doesn't really even list them here. Almost everybody says that Ty and Zach are working together, but I guess he includes that in like the boys gang, right? But I think that's a flaw for Daniel, is that he doesn't actually see, oh, like you might be working with Zach, but he's most loyal to Ty. And it feels like everybody else kind of can tell that, but Daniel can't. He mentions that he has a final two with Anika, so he trusts her a lot. But as for the most, he says no one, but Kuzi, I guess he trusts a bit more. And then least is actually Claudia and all the boys, right? Like he just doesn't trust any of the boys. Hope is up next. He says guys are working together, girls are working together. That seems obvious. He says he trusts Zach the most, and then he says he trusts Santina the least. Vanessa comes on in. Zach and Ty, she says, are working together. Dan, Nene, and Renee. Which okay, you think that Dan, who put Renee on the block, working to get, okay, Vanessa, you do you, and that she trusts John, and that she doesn't trust Zach. She says that John is just like Canada's best person. She loves him. He reminds her of her husband. She loves him, and then Zach just completely untrustworthy. Jonathan comes in. He says, obviously, Zach and Ty are working together. He really trusts Rob, and he doesn't trust Zach. And it was really kind of straightforward from Jonathan there. Anika comes in, says that Rob, Santina, Vanessa, and John are working together, but like only for this week. She says Ty and Zach and the girls think that they have Daniel, Kuzi, and herself as like numbers. She said Ty is with Santina and Zach, and she says she trusts almost blindly. She doesn't blindly trust them, but almost blindly that she trusts Daniel and Kuzi. As for who she doesn't trust, she almost names half the house. She's like Renee, Rob, Santina, Vanessa, Zach to a point. It's a whole thing with Anika. Then we had Kuzi come on in. Kuzi says that Zach, Ty, and Santina are working together. They're not anymore. Santina is pretending to work with them, but them putting up Rob and how they've dominated things has really turned Santina off. So while Santina will pretend to work with them, she's absolutely not working with them. If she wins HOH, I almost would assume that it would probably be someone like Ty and Zach to go up. On low-key, she says low-key she's with them. She also calls out the Nene, Claudia, Renee. She says that her, Anika, and Daniel, which it seems like the three group, like there's two groups of three that everybody's kind of naming as working together. You got Nene, Claudia, and Renee, and you've got Kuzi, Anika, and Daniel. And everybody seems to see those as the threesomes, right? They see Ty and Zach as, a pairing. They saw Rob and Jonathan along with Santina. Most of them do, but some of them think Santina is still with Zach. A lot of them are really confused about everything going on. But she also says that John, Rob, Santina, and Vanessa are working together. As far as who she trusts the most from Kuzi, this is an interesting one. You would think, oh, Anika or Daniel. She says Ty. She trusts Ty the most, and then the least, she says Zach, which is also interesting because she talks a lot of game with him, seems to trust him a little bit. Renee says that John, Rob, and Santina are working together. Zach, Ty, and Hope and Dan are working together. The girly pops, which are her, Nene, and Claudia, and she trusts her girly pops as well as Hope. And then there's new trust that she's just gained with Dan and Kuzi, but not Anika. She does not trust Anika. She does not trust Vanessa, and she does not trust Santina. So that's interesting from Renee there. Rob came in, but it really doesn't matter what he had to say because he was evicted. Santina said when she saw the question about who's working with who, she's like, I don't know. I'm just going to skip that one. As far as who I trust, Ty, she actually says she trusts Ty and Anika. And then, which is also interesting because Anika said she didn't trust Santina. So that's kind of a thing there as well. And then the least one she trusts is Zach. Nene comes through. She says that Zach and Ty, maybe Dan, Hope, Santina. She's like, I don't know. She does clock Kuzi, Anika, and Daniel working together. She trusts in Claudia and the Dans, and then least trusts Ty. Ty says himself and Zach are working together. Himself and Claudia, who we trust the most would be Zach, Claudia, and Kuzi. And then least would be Daniel and Anika. Because I think with Ty, here's the thing. Ty can see he has Kuzi. So if he can get rid of Daniel and Anika, see you later. This is why for Daniel, Anika, and Kuzi, their best move would have been to keep Rob around so that they can go after each other. Because now that Ty doesn't have Rob as a big target, what's he going to do eventually? He's going to go after Daniel and he's going to go after Anika. And then their middle alliance here that they think is this great plan is going to be blown up. Finally, we got Zach who came through who said he says it's pretty obvious that the girls are working together. And I think when he says the girls, he just means Renee, Claudia, and Nene, Daniel C, Anika, and Kuzi. He says himself and Ty, and then Santina, he doesn't know. As far as who he trusts, his ride or die is Ty 100%. And then least, he was like, that's a hard question, but I guess Vanessa, because he has the worst relationship with her in the house. So after all of that, this is what I've come up with for an alliance chart here. So we've got Jonathan and Santina on one side. You got Ty and Zach on the other. You got Vanessa, who's kind of the wild card on that side. You got Hope and Dan, who seem like they're much closer to being on Zach's side than anywhere else. And then you got the middle, right? You've got Anika, Kuzi, Daniel. You got Renee, Nene, and Claudia there. And those are kind of your big overarching things to look out for. We also have kind of the little pairings down there at the bottom. Things like Zach's corner of relationships down there. He's got him and Hope, him and Dan, him and Kuzi, him and Daniel. You've got Ty, who's got Kuzi. You got Kuzi, who also has Anika and Daniel is in two separate ones there. I didn't necessarily put Daniel and Anika together. Maybe I could have, because again, he said he did have that kind of final two thing, but it seems like for Daniel, at least, that's not really that real, and he'd be more loyal to someone like Kuzi. We've got Jonathan and Vanessa down there, because it seems like that's kind of a little thing going on, where she thinks he's just the best. Vanessa also does have a relationship with Dan, so I've kept that around. The Claudia and Jonathan ones in there too. So yeah, this is kind of what I feel like is maybe the best picture we've had so far of the house and where things stand. There's a lot of wild cards that can float around. It really all depends on who wins HOH coming up. I can almost guarantee you no one in the middle there will try and win HOH. Even if they try, I don't even know if they can win HOH. I'm sure Vanessa will try. I don't think she has a chance at it, no matter what the competition is. And then Hope, I think will always try in competitions, but will he succeed? Who knows? Daniel can't win it, which really just leaves kind of 4 people who would possibly be HOH. I think Zach, it would be a bad idea for him to win it, but I think he's going to try. Ty, I think, will give it a shot. Santina and Jonathan will 100% be trying for it. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins HOH and how this all goes. Let me know in the comments down below. What did you guys think of the episode? What did you think, if you've watched the diary room sessions, what did you think of getting that insight into the house guests? It was probably the first time we've really actually gotten that ever in Big Brother, where they've just directly said to us, like, oh, this is who I trust, this is who I don't, this is who I think are working together. So it was really kind of interesting to get that insight into the game. And if you are new here, that subscribe button. You like this video? Hit that like button. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, smash that like button. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a video, you never miss a stream. There hopefully will be a digital daily that's released today, and then we can kind of get an idea of who won HOH. I'll have a recap on the channel for that as soon as possible. We don't know how much we'll get over the weekend. They were kind of spotty in general, so we'll see how that all goes. If you want to follow me anywhere else, because I'll probably be live on either Twitch or Kick, there's links in the description down below for all my socials, my Twitter, my Discord, my Twitch, the Kick channel, which I just started up. So make sure you go follow that. What else do we got down there? All the stuff. Follow what you want, ignore what you want. It's the description and the pinned comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, though. I really appreciate each and every one of you for all the support you give me on this channel. And I will see you next time.